love my father, but I don't share those views, to be absolutely clear. It's a long, painful part of our history. I've learned personally, we've learned as a nation. We're in a process of the damage, of the fundamental damage of residential schools and day schools to those who attended them, those who were their descendants, if I can put it that way, the culture as well, and a very necessary, essential process of reconciliation, truth and reconciliation, has begun.
Marcus Carnivorous was recently asked by reporters if he stands by statements that his father made about Canada's history with residential schools. Now, I think these comments were a while ago, given that his dad is dead. It's worth noting that Carney Sr., as I understand, was principal of a day school, not a residential school. Still, I believe the CBC interview was from 1965, which, for those of you who may be bad at counting, that was 60 years ago. So, I'm not saying reporters shouldn't be asking these questions. I can especially understand why some Indigenous Canadians might be curious about the answer. But at the same time, let's also remember either one of my parents might have made comments last week that I would respond similarly and say, I love my parents, but sometimes they say things that I think are dumb. It's also worth noting that in 1965, Martin Luther King Jr. had just done his March on Washington 2 years earlier. So it would honestly be more of a story if Carney's dad hadn't been a racist dick in that interview. I know that it's 2025 and even the convoy types don't want to be seen as hateful to Indigenous people, but that attitude in Canada amongst respectable white people is pretty new. Growing up in the 90s, if my parents had another family over for dinner and the topic of reservations or anything to do with Indigenous people came up, everyone at the table was going to say some really ignorant things that they thought was accurate because, quite frankly, back then, everyone was dumb. We didn't have the internet yet, and you didn't have any voices that deviated from the general opinions of what a few people running the newsrooms for the local TV stations and local newspaper thought. And those news outlets were all owned by, say it with me, kids, the rich. Overt racism was all the rage back then, and I do appreciate that, like Bell Bottoms did, it is making a comeback right now, as it tends to do. Because the thing is, someone working for a media company, be it a newspaper, TV outlet, or a social media company, if they can get you to hate somebody, anybody, whether it be because of their skin color, their body shape, their gender, their orientation, whatever, if you can get somebody to hate somebody, then you can get that person to blame all of their problems that you're causing on that person that they hate. If you're a woman and all problems come from men, you never have to question whose business plan relied on you believing that. If you're white and you're told all your problems come from Indigenous people, you'll be too distracted to ask if you're paid fairly for the work you do. If you're straight and you're told that somebody wants to make your kid gay or trans, people can get you to vote for people who are going to ensure that there aren't enough doctors and nurses to care for your kid when they get a life-threatening injury. Like, right now, is our enemy the Americans? No. Most Americans don't hate Canada. Most Americans love Canada. But they've been told to hate us because the people who create most of the world's problems could not possibly defend themselves if people realized who the real danger to their kids was or who the real reason they're getting ripped off all the time is. What Carney's dad said was racist, but it was also classist because racism is always fueled by classism.